Well, if you're still trading your time for money, you're already losing and you don't even know it yet. And if you are, then you're just like me. Every day, millions of people, just like I used to think, just like I used to do, millions of people wake up, clock in, they obey orders, they convince themselves that they're just playing it safe, right? They call it a secure job. But let's be honest, guys, it's survival mode with a direct deposit. Meanwhile, the wealthy people, they play a completely different game. They don't think in hours, they think in systems. They think in machines that they build once that pay them forever. And so while you're stuck hoping for a raise, they're out here getting paid while they sleep, while they travel, while they rest. Not because they worked harder, but because they escaped the employee mindset. And if you have the employee mindset, there's nothing wrong with that until you realize that there's another side to it. And I say this because I have lived both sides. I remember being stuck in a job that drained me, feeling small, underpaid, and overlooked. I remember what it felt like to just keep quiet, to nod along, to, basically to need the paycheck so bad that I just tolerated all sorts of nonsense. And I also remember the exact day that I said, never again. Never a freaking again. And that was the day that I started building systems. And I started thinking like a business owner, and I stopped thinking like a worker. And ladies and gentlemen, that literally changed everything. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through the exact mindset shift that separates millionaires from employees, why quitting your job too early can actually backfire if you're still wired to just survive, how I reprogrammed my brain, how I rebuilt my finances from the ground up, and how I designed a life that I no longer need a vacation from. Now, if you stay with me until the end, guys, I'm going to show you where I am actually helping others to be able to do the exact same thing that I did inside of a network that I built for freedom thinkers only. So if you're a freedom thinker, this is going to be the place for you. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you know deep down that you were made for something more than just clocking in and asking for permission to live your life, then get ready, guys, because this video right here, this could actually flip that switch for you. So I want you to understand that millionaires think in systems and employees think in survival. And there's a big, huge difference between those two lines of thinking. So let's go ahead and get into it, right? So let's start by getting brutally honest. And I hope I don't offend anybody when I say some of the things I'm going to say, but just understand that whatever I say is coming from a good place. So please bear with me, all right? So there are two operating systems in the world of money, right? You're either running like an employee survival thinking, or you've upgraded your operating system to like millionaire system thinking, right? And trust me, the gap between these two types of thinking is literally the difference between a life of exhaustion and a life of leverage. So I'm gonna break it down for you guys so you understand what I'm talking about, because this may be the first time you've ever heard of anything like this or considered it in this way, right? So you wake up, you sell your time, you hope your bank account survives just long enough until the next paycheck lands. You're constantly asking, can I afford this? Do I have enough PTO? Will they approve my raise, right? You're not working for money. You're stuck asking for permission to live. And that's just survival. You're trading hours for dollars. You're capped by somebody else's budget. And the worst part is you're exhausted, but you still feel like you're still falling behind, even though you're giving it all you got, right? Now, let me flip it on you. System thinkers do not chase hours. They build machines. They ask, how do I build something once that prints money forever? They automate, they delegate, they leverage, they build processes, not to-do lists, right? That's the big difference there, right? They don't think, how can I hustle harder? How can I cram 12 more hours into this 24-hour day? They don't think like that. They think, how can I remove myself from the hustle entirely and still get paid, in fact, get paid more? And once this switch flips, everything changes. And here's the part that most people don't even get. This mindset isn't natural. It's programmed, which leads me to the next point that I wanted to share with you guys. And trust me, You're probably going to see this one in yourself. Let me know if you do in the comments, guys. Okay, so let's talk about where the survival mode really kind of starts, because it didn't come out of nowhere. You were programmed for this, and so was I. So I didn't grow up super poor, but money was always tight. Every decision came with the unspoken question, can we afford this, right? So naturally, I grew up believing that $100,000 a year was like some elite level of earning, right? You know, like only doctors and lawyers. Like if you wanted to earn that kind of money, you had to be a doctor or a lawyer, or maybe you win the damn lottery to make that kind of money. Nobody taught me that you could buy cars, flip them, you know, from home, like I was doing, or like I later learned to do. You could buy cars and flip them from home, own multiple properties, or even build automated online income. Nobody showed me systems until I saw somebody doing it with my own eyes, and it completely shattered my entire understanding of like what was possible. And that's a game changer. When you see something, seeing, I know they say seeing is believing, but for me, seeing really was believing. It was like, wow, if I had been told about it, that's one thing, but to see it for yourself, that's another thing. You see, guys, we've been trained from childhood to just follow instructions. Go to preschool, get a job. Oh, get a good job. Ask for permission. Can I go to the bathroom? You got to raise your hand. Can I go to the bathroom? Can I do this? Can I do? They teach you from the very beginning. Obey. Don't ask too many questions, right? Do it the way we teach you, not the way, do not think outside the box, right? Oh, and if you really work hard, maybe, just maybe, they'll let you retire at age 67, or, you know, with some leftover crumbs while you're old and decrepit and your body's falling apart. Guys, that is not security. That is mental programming, and it leads directly into the next trap. So here's the real twisted part, though. When you finally start chasing something better, you're still haunted by the same conditioning because it's still in your head. You start a business, take on some clients, you wake up earlier, you grind harder. But now, if you aren't constantly working, you feel like a fraud. You ever feel guilty for taking a break? You ever called yourself lazy for not being productive 24/7? That's hustle guilt. And it's deadly. I'm going to tell you guys. It keeps you in a loop where busy feels productive, but you're still broke. You're still tired. You're still living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you're still chasing. How do I know? Because I lived it. 14-hour days. Heck, some days I will work 18 hours because I had 2 full-time jobs at one point. Over caffeinated, no rest, always trying to squeeze in one more task. Oh, I could do this one more thing right quick. And right quick, everything always takes longer than what you think it will take. Because I thought that was the way to success. But I want to tell you something that completely changed my life, guys. Okay? Burnout doesn't make you a boss. It just makes you a slave to the wrong system. So here's the real turning point for me, because once I realized that all of this pressure, all of this guilt, it wasn't actually making me rich, I made one decision that flipped everything upside down. So let's talk about the moment that it all completely changed for me. And maybe it'll change for you, because once I realized that I was stuck in a system that was built for survival, not for freedom, I stopped asking, like, how do I make more money at this job? I stopped asking that. And then I started asking, how do I never need a job again? That is a game changer, okay? Now, this wasn't about tactics. It was about who I was becoming. I had to stop being the person who waited for permission to take time off, to get a raise in my income. Got to raise your hand for permission, right? Nah. I stopped being that person who waited for permission, who waited to get time off, who waited for a raise in my income, who waited to live my life. Most people are waiting to age 65 or age 67 to start living their life. Guys, I started being the kind of person who built the system that let me decide those things for myself. So this meant ultimately letting go of all of these old lies that were told to me or taught to me, like debt is bad, or just be grateful for the job you have. No, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me clearly. Debt is a tool. It's not good or bad. It's like it's like a gun, but really, think about a gun, right? Policeman use a gun to protect society, right? A robber can use a gun to do bad things. A homeowner who owns a gun can use it to protect their home if in the event of a break-in. You see, it's just a tool. Debt is the same way. And when you understand systems, you can understand, you start to learn how to use it like a lever instead of a chain. I stopped taking advice from broke people who had never done what I was trying to do or what I wanted to do. And let this be a lesson to you. Be real picky about who you take advice from. If you're taking advice from a broke friend about money, I probably wouldn't do that. If you're taking advice from a fat friend about fitness, I probably wouldn't do that. I'm just saying, like, make sure that when you get advice, that the source of the advice is coming from a qualified source. I'm not going to take business advice from a person who's never had a business. Why would I do that, right? I started learning from people who were living the results that I wanted. I built my own counsel. I built my own blueprint. And I didn't just change my habits. I changed my operating system. Now, for those of you guys who know my story, I've been in IT for like 20 years. First job in IT was like a help desk related role. So anyway, a lot of my analogies are kind of like, tied to computers. This is kind of the way my mind thinks. But anyway, this is exactly why I created the Liberty Pursuit Network on School, guys. This is not some hype group. This is where I'm sharing exactly how I made this shift, how you can too. In fact, if you're ready to break out of survival thinking, if you're done taking advice from broke people who aren't any further ahead in life than you are, if you're done taking advice from people who are still asking for permission to live, then join the Liberty Pursuit Network, guys. That is your next move. Now, inside this group, I walk you through how to build systems, create income streams, and get off the treadmill for good. You'll find coaching tools, a real community, not just a whole bunch of motivational fluff, because motivation fades, but systems, they work forever. So when I started thinking like a builder, I started just trying to do everything. I started trying to build machines. I opened up 35 bank accounts to structure my money like a business. I evaluated every expense with one question. Is this helping me, or is it helping me stay broke? I stopped chasing 10 income streams. I've read the books. I've heard the cliches. The average millionaire has like 7 to 10 income streams. While that may be true, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that a millionaire may have multiple income streams, but generally speaking, to become the millionaire, it wasn't the multiple streams of income that made them the millionaire. They were really good at one thing for a long time, and then they diversified. They didn't diversify in the beginning. So that's where a lot of people go wrong. They diversify their efforts into all these things, and they make no progress whatsoever. So I stopped chasing 10 different income streams, and instead I doubled down on the one thing that was working. I mastered it, I maximized it, and then I used that cash to expand. My earned income wasn't for flexing, although at first it was, and then I learned my lesson doing some whole bunch of dumb stuff. But anyway, once I got smart, my earned income wasn't for flexing. It was for fuel. It was fuel for new skills, fuel for new systems, fuel to buy back more of my time. And again, if this sounds like the kind of thinking that you want to master, this is exactly what we teach inside the Liberty Pursuit Network. I break it down, all the way down, step by step. You don't have to figure it out alone, guys. This is where employees become owners and survivors become system thinkers, okay? Now, I'm going to say that again for those of you guys who are like messing around, getting distracted on TikTok, yelling at the kids, checking the microwave that was beeping just now. Forget all that, right? You don't have to figure this out alone, guys. I've already figured it out. So this is where, in our Liberty Pursuit Network, where employees become owners and survivors become system thinkers, because that is how you exit. This is where everything starts to click, because once you stop thinking like a worker and you start thinking like a builder, you realize that money doesn't come from time. Money comes from systems. And If you're an employee, you're just working within someone else's system. I'm just here to tell you the truth, guys. So let me be clear. You don't have to get ahead. You really don't get ahead by working harder. You actually get ahead by building something that works harder than you ever could. Never forget that, guys. Now think about this, right? You create one piece of content that runs for you forever. That's an evergreen system. Think of YouTube. This platform right here, YouTube, right? You automate your outreach, your emails, your lead flow. That's a system. You hire somebody to handle your $10 an hour tasks. That's freeing up your time. Now you got time freedom back, right? Then you invest in a skill, maybe a course that multiplies your earning power. That's your ROI system. You build a business that generates cash flow while you sleep. Passive income system. You see how all of these systems work together and they free your time and they increase your income. I hope you do, because this is how wealth is really built. Millionaires don't hustle harder. You think Jeff Bezos is out there sweating in the warehouse with the rest of the Amazon workers out there? No, he probably ain't been in a warehouse in years. Maybe he has. Even if he did visit, he's not out there busting ass. He's just going in there to visit, to make sure things are running optimally, and he's looking at ways that he can reduce his overhead and automate more and expand his profitability. He's not in there sweating his butt off like most people. I'm just telling you. Millionaires don't necessarily hustle harder. They hustle smarter. They architect their life to build a blueprint. They build things once that pay them over and over again. This is the mindset upgrade that most people never make. And once you start thinking in systems, you stop asking, did I work hard today? And then you start asking, did I move my system forward today? Now, for me, that meant documenting every step, screenshots, notes, receipts of progress, measuring my return on time, not just my effort that I put in, if that makes sense, right? Measuring your return on time. It's kind of like ROI, but it's like return, instead of return on investment, it's return on time, right? There was this, I used to work out at LA Fitness. I don't work out at LA Fitness anymore, but they used to say on the like the system where they play the music or whatever, they would interrupt the music being played with these commercials. And one of the things that they would always say is, what gets measured gets improved. So, and that would always stick in my head. And it's true. Most of the people I would ever encounter who are saying what they want to do or what they want to achieve in life, but they're not making progress, they're not measuring the progress. And the reason usually that people don't measure the progress is because it would tell them the truth, and they would rather just live a lie than live the truth. So instead of measuring the progress and realizing, oh, I'm not making any progress, and then making changes in their life to be able to make the progress so that they can ultimately achieve their goal, they would rather not track it so they don't realize that they're not getting any closer to what they desire. And you're just lying to yourself. And when I would tell people that, some people would either make changes or they would be like, man, almost attack me for telling them the truth, whatever. And I ruthlessly cut anything out of my life that did not move the needle forward. All right. So let me just kind of go over this whole moving the system forward thing again. All right. So every day I would ask myself, did I move the system forward? Right. So for me, this meant documenting every step, screenshots, notes, receipts of progress. I would be measuring my return on time. And I would ruthlessly be cutting out anything that did not move the needle forward. So for example, I stopped trying to do everything, because you can achieve anything, but you can't achieve everything. So you got to identify what's really important to you. So I stopped trying to do everything. I stopped trying to wear every hat, and I focused on what only I could do while trying to automate, delegate, or deleting the rest. So every day I had a purpose, right? Every day there was a purpose. Every task had to earn its keep. And slowly but surely, I started seeing it happen. I wasn't the business anymore. The business was working for me. So, you know what most people get wrong? They think quitting their job is the starting point of freedom. But in reality, it's the reward for building a system first. So you're probably like, what are you talking about? All right. I didn't just wake up one day and throw my job away and hope that a business worked. In fact, I engineered my exit like a military operation. I tracked every expense for a long time. I cut off the fluff from my lifestyle. I built a buffer in the form of like an emergency fund. I had investments. I stacked client revenue until everything was covered and then passed. I was stacking my salary, and yes, I lived like I was broke even when the money started coming in. And for people who were close to me, they would always ask me, "Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that?" Hey, that's not part of my plan. I'm not out here trying to flex. I have goals and objectives. People who spend all of their income just to flex are staying on the treadmill unnecessarily. They're staying on the rat wheel. So this takes discipline. This is only for people who have a vision, right? This takes discipline, this takes vision, and this takes a why that is bigger than your distractions. Every morning and every night I would visualize the life that I wanted to live. Not just some dream board fluff. I mean real details where I would live, how I would spend my mornings, what kind of freedom I would feel. Guys, that kind of vision really kept me locked in when things got tough. And it became real because I treated it like it was a job before it paid like one. So let me be blunt, guys. This is a brain game before it's a money game, right? So if your mind is still wired only for survival, some people think the only reason for a job is to pay bills. And if you think that way, that's gonna make your life very difficult. Okay, I'm just telling you, because I used to think that. So if your mind is wired only for survival, only to make enough money to pay bills, then you're gonna sabotage every system you ever build. You'll overwork, you'll undercharge, you'll burn out. You're gonna blame the grind instead of your mindset. Here's what millionaire thinking actually looks like. Okay, you prioritize leverage over labor. You rest on purpose, not just when you collapse. You build space in your week to think, to refocus, to create. And even when your income grows, you still operate like you're broke until your passive income says otherwise. You see what I'm saying? Because real wealth is not about flexing. It's about having control of your time. This is what I fight for. That is what I teach. And this is exactly what you're going to learn how to build if you stay in this mindset. We were at all right, so just finished up a sick ass training session at the gym, busted out shoulders and tries, a little bit of abs, so time to eat. We grabbed lunch today in the middle of the afternoon. Restaurant was empty. Why? Because most people are working. We have the time. I have the time flexibility to pretty much do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I don't have to be in certain places when the lines are long. This is like one of the minor benefits of being able to control your time and have time freedom, right? So if you made it this far in a video, then I know something about you. You're not here for some motivational fluff. You're here to rewire your mindset and to rebuild your life from the ground up. So let me ask you something. And I want you to answer this honestly, guys. Are you stuck in survival mode? Are you reacting to bills, chasing paychecks, hoping the next job, maybe the next side hustle, the next opportunity will be the one that sets you free? If so, then let me tell you the hard truth. You don't need a new job. You need a new operating system. This is not about quitting tomorrow. This is about never needing permission again from a boss, from a bank. Oh, please, please, Mr. Bank, can you give me a loan so I can buy the car I want, so I can buy the house I want? You don't need to do all that. This is about never needing a permission again to live life on your own terms, because survival is reactive. Systems are strategic. So you got survival on one side, survival's reactive, systems are strategic on the other side. Completely different. Employees, they follow orders. System thinkers create leverage. And if you're done spinning your wheels like I was done, if you're done settling for safe when you're built for so much more, join me inside the Liberty Pursuit Network on School. This is where I teach the exact systems, strategies, mindset rewiring that made my job completely irrelevant. And I built a life that I no longer need a vacation from. We literally just got back from Dominican Republic. Amazing trip. And I heard a lot of people complaining, oh, back to reality. And I'm thinking to myself, well, depends on what your reality is. Because when I go home, we're going to have more fun. We're still going to have fun. And we'll take another trip as soon as we're ready to take another trip. We'll probably take another trip in a couple weeks. So it's like, what kind of reality do you want to live? A reality that you dislike or hate, or a reality that you don't need a vacation from? So anyway, Liberty Pursuit Network, no fluff, no hype, just real freedom built with real structure inside of a community of people who get it. So inside of the Liberty Pursuit Network, we don't chase money. We build systems that attract it. We don't beg for raises. We create income streams that while you work, we're generating income. We create income streams that work while we sleep. And we don't grind ourselves into the dust. We invest in skills, automate what we can, and we reclaim our time like our life depends on it. Because it does. Do you really want to wait until you're like 70 years old to start living life? Or do you want to wait? Or do you want to start enjoying life now? So anyway, if you're serious about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just make more money, but actually makes smarter, system-driven moves that lead to true independence, then this is where you start. This is where you upgrade your mindset. This is where liberty begins. So click the link in the description down below. Join the Liberty Pursuit Network. Let's rebuild your life the systemic way, okay? Till next time, guys, remember this. Millionaires do not hustle harder. They think differently. They build differently, and you can too. Liberty starts now. All right, so let's get to work. All right, guys.